Because if you've got that ground zero right, then everything else should be a lot easier. But if that's not happening from the start, you're kind of swimming upstream the whole time.
Rob McNelley is one of Nashville's most recorded guitar players. He's played on records for everyone from Bob Seger to Lady A, and serves as the go-to session guitarist for producers like Dann Huff. In this episode, we dig into what makes a great session player, from capturing the right feel on the first take to the subtle details that bring a part to life. Rob shares how he thinks about tone, time, and touch, and breaks down how the best players make the song feel better without ever getting in the way. I'm Spencer from Sonora Guitar Intensive, and this podcast is made in collaboration with Carter Vintage Guitars here in Nashville, Tennessee. If you want to learn from some of the greatest guitar players in the world, hit subscribe to stay in the loop with future episodes.
All right, let's jump in.
Yeah.
Welcome to
Hey,
the show.
good to be here.
Thanks for coming to Carter Vintage.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Show here. We have a lot to jump into. Today we're going to go through a whole bunch of things about different tones that are essential for session guitar players and guitar players in general.
Mm-hmm.
Before we jump into that, I want to give the guests a little bit of a background on you.
Okay.
Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of what your entryway was into professional guitar? Not necessarily session guitar, we'll get into that in a second, but what was your first entry point into playing guitar professionally?
Oh, man. Well, I grew up in and around Columbus, Ohio, and I just, like most people, I just started playing bars, but I was pretty young. I was still in high school, and I was starting to play bars and stuff. And then by the time I graduated high school, I was, playing in several different bands, several nights a week in bars.
Yeah. And where'd you go from there?
Well, I did that for a lot of years. I lived up there until I was about 24, and I moved to Nashville. And it was just kind of, I was working my ass off playing in bars in Columbus, Ohio, or away from a town like Nashville means you're playing for 4 hours a night, and you're playing with all these different bands. So, you're learning a lot of songs, you're doing all this work, and really wasn't making any kind of money that I felt like was going to sustain me. And there's going to be a burnout factor with that kind of lifestyle at some point. And if there's not a burnout factor, you're going to be jaded by the time you're 40, probably. I don't want to speak for everybody. That's what I saw in my future if I stayed there. So I just wanted to get somewhere where there was more opportunity and an actual music business infrastructure. And Nashville fit that criteria really well.
Around 24, you said?
Well, I was 24 years old, so mid 90s, like 90. I've moved down here in 95, towards the end of 95. So, yeah, I was just getting closer to places where there were more opportunity to do what I was doing. And then when I got down here, I found out, like, when you play in a bar here, you play for an hour.
Yeah.
You don't. It's not like you make great money or better money doing it here than you did back there.
Like when you get to Nashville, your first week, like how do you approach kind of getting onto the scene and getting your first gig there?
Well, it's a lot different now because people can network through social media. I mean, I get hit up from a lot of people that are moving here. Hey, I'm wanting to move to Nashville. Tell me what I need to know and all that. And they can connect with players who are doing it, which is a great thing. Back then, there were just all kinds of open jam nights at clubs, and I didn't know how else to do it than just to go down to the clubs and have your guitar with you and sign up or whatever you got to do and get up there and play a couple songs and get to meet people that are probably just moving there like you and trying to meet everybody.
Yeah. And so for you, back when you were 24, you started going to jam sessions.
Yeah.
And what was your first big gig where you were like, this is like not just a bar gig, but starting to kind of do some tours and bigger artists?
Well, the very first thing that I got wasn't actually Nashville based. It was a blues artist on Alligator Records named Tinsley Ellis. That came about in a weird way because he's based out of Atlanta, and I played with somebody here who had a gig in Atlanta, and I ended up playing down there, and his road manager saw me and he was looking for somebody, so he got my number, and that kind of came about. So that was the first like steady gig that I had. But that might as well have I've been like not living in Nashville, because that kind of was a whole different circuit of people and a whole different city that was. It was like I didn't live in town for the first 2 years I lived here, because I was out on the road with him all the time. I mean, we played a lot.
What kind of music was that?
But it's all blues, just like blues circuit, blues clubs, all that kind of stuff. And it was fun. I mean, I got to meet a lot of my heroes that were still alive at that time, and But after that, I came back to town, and I kind of fell in with sort of Americana people like Allison Moore. I did some touring with her. A guy from Knoxville area, Scott Miller. Really good songwriter type of people. And from there, I played with Winona a little bit. I toured with her. I toured with Leanne Womack. And then I ended up in Delbert McClinton's band for about 8 years.
Real quick break here. If you're enjoying this episode and you want to go deeper with some of this content, we've just made a brand new free community where we're transcribing pieces of these episodes, doing live Q&As with some of these guests where you can interact with them directly, and just kind of building a community where intermediate guitar players can hang out and grow even faster around the concepts that these master players are covering. If you want to join that, just click the link below in the description, or you can scan this QR code and find the group there. And while you're at it, if you're enjoying this episode, drop us a like or a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps get the word out about this channel and make sure that we can continue interviewing awesome guests. So with that, let's jump back into the interview.
Which was great. I mean, that was very fun and different than Nashville mainstream, but I was located here in town and could be around.
Yeah, what did you learn working with that band?
Well, first of all, Delbert gets pegged as a blues artist a lot of times, which is unfair, because he's really kind of he was Americana before Americana was a thing, man, it taught me a lot about there was no set list. We went on stage every night. We kind of knew like maybe the first 3 or 4 songs we were going to play, and then from there he would just call songs on the bandstand, kind of really old school, and he just read the crowd, and it taught me a lot about that, like, keeping the right energy going in the room. Mm-hmm. And he had such a wide array of songs, like it could be a sort of country sounding thing this minute, and then a blues thing, and then maybe like a little bit of a Western swing thing, and then a Stonesy thing, or a R&B thing, or a ballad, or whatever, it was just, you had to be ready for anything. And it wasn't a pedalboard gig. It was like pretty much plugged straight into an amp and play. So it really helped me develop getting the most out of a guitar and an amp. And we played the songs differently every night. So, I mean, it was just, it was like our gig was a musical conversation every night. And I think that teaches you a lot of ways you can approach a song, which I didn't know was going to serve me later for session world, because I think that's an important tool you have to develop. Is like, you hear a song and we all know the obvious things that can happen, and probably those things are the things you need to do. But when a producer says, we need to reinvent this and make this not all those things, you have to have those ideas. And I think all my years playing with Delbert, it kind of taught me that, like, whatever you played on this song last night, you might not play tonight because somebody else is doing something different. And now this whole,
and where are you pulling those influences from? Like, if you're playing in that band, for instance, are you doing a lot of listening while you're on the road to kind of expose yourself to more styles, so that when the moment comes, you've got something in your back pocket?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were always listening to different music on the bus, and Delbert exposed me to a lot of music that isn't necessarily easy to find, because maybe it's out of print, or maybe it's just not out there like now everything's out there.
Yeah.
But back then it wasn't, like finding out about some regional artist that was from Texas back in the 60s, songs you just never would find.
Do you remember any of those artists?
Oh, I mean, Oh gosh, I mean, it's back there. It's kind of hard to call it back up because one thing about this is, I mean, you know, I try to listen to as much stuff as possible. But I mean, probably exposing me, these aren't necessarily, they don't sound obscure now, but like finding a lot of Johnny Guitar Watson music wasn't as easy back then as it is now, you know? So these things we kind of take for granted. That's one example. Yeah. And because a lot of people who are into like maybe blues or something might know 4 or 5 Johnny Guitar Watson songs, but there's always these obscure recordings that just didn't, you know, circulate as much, or these obscure songs that have this one cool moment in them that you just, you know, you kind of can't find anywhere else, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. And then what happens? So you play with this band for 8 years or so, right?
Yeah.
How do you transition into doing more session work? Does that work?
Well, you know, one, you can't really plan it. I think for me, the thing that I think being in Delbert's band and how much respect he kind of has in this town for finding unique and good musicians, that helped. But really, you know, when he started touring a little less and I was here to be, I was just around. Really, I mean, I started picking up a bunch of gigs around town with different songwriters who had publishing deals, who were needing to do demos all the time, and maybe I would play their live gig, and their publisher would be there and be like, well, man, we need to do something different on this next session coming up. Why don't you hire Rob? He's been playing with you, you know. He's kind of coming at it from a little different angle, mainly because I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, so I was just doing what I thought I should be doing, you know. And I think that ultimately, if that's working and people get excited about that, you can come into a session and seem you can just have ideas that are fresh to them, you know. You know, and that's word of mouth is still, I think, king. Like, you know.
What was the first session that you were on that really kind of put you on the map?
Well, a lot of people point to the Lady A stuff that I played on, and that definitely was the stuff that really put me over the top, you know. But before that, I played on a record by Randy Houser, and there was a song called Boots On that I played on. All that slide stuff is me. The solo's Paul Franklin. It sounds like slide guitar, but that's Paul Franklin, I think, on a lap steel. But you know, I played on that record, and there were a couple songs on there that did really well. And it just kind of led to other producers wanting to know, I guess, maybe who did that.
With Lady A.
Well, Paul Worley was producing them, and I knew Paul from my dad's band was down here in the 80s, and he was producing them. I probably met him when I was a kid, but, you know, I mean, that was in passing. But he was aware that I had moved to town. It's not like we hung out or saw each other or even really talked that much. There is the story about him buying my dad's telly and me getting that back, which is great. So I was very aware of him, obviously, but he was aware of me. But you know, he did the right thing. He didn't just start throwing me stuff. He let me get out there and swim. And once I started playing on a bunch of things he was hearing, like demos and maybe other records here and there. You know, he probably heard that I had been doing this and maybe was ready for something like this. So he's called me to play on it. I don't know how it happened on his end. I'm assuming whoever he wanted wasn't available at first. I mean, that's how this stuff goes. I mean, you know.
Yeah, you come in as a sub and then.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Did you know at the time? Did you know that song had legs in the way that it did?
Talking about Need You Now?
Yeah.
Well, you know, that was on their. That wasn't on their first record. There were. Yeah, I knew this band was gonna be something. Yeah. The second I met them all and heard them and heard the songs and the material, Yeah, but fast forwarding to Need You Now, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the second we all started working on that song, I remember driving home that day and feeling like if someone at the record label didn't just ignore this, it was going to be huge.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So that song really puts you on the map in terms of session work.
Yeah.
What happens then? I assume the phone's just like ringing off the hook.
One would assume. I mean, it was quiet at first as far as records go. Yeah. I was keeping a really full schedule as far as demos and sort of custom projects and all that. But the record work didn't just take off because of it. Yeah, I mean, it was a little while before people really started associating that with me, even though it was a big hit. Yeah. And I mean, it just takes a while to get everybody paying attention to what is going on. You have to do a lot.
Yeah.
You have to meet these people 10 times before they remember your name, you know, or whatever. I would say over the next year of that song being really big, yeah, there was a tipping point that kind of eventually happened, but it wasn't immediate, no.
Yeah. But you've done an amazing job of building so much momentum, because now,
Thank you.
You know, I would consider you sort of a mainstay of the session world here in Nashville. Everyone points to you as like kind of the guy who can get it done consistently and just deliver on a really great sound. I'm curious for you, what skills are different about the live work that you did versus the session work? What skills did you have to acquire in order to transition smoothly into session work?
Well, when you're playing live, you don't get a chance to craft what you're doing on stage. You have to, what you play is what happens, right? So that's a different skill. And you know, you're learning the part. I mean, if you're playing with like a major, like when I played with Wynonna Judd or Leanne Womack or anybody of that nature, like mainstream artists where the show is the same pretty much every night, the set list is the same, or even Bob Seger, that, I mean, like these songs become iconic to the people coming to see that show. So when a song becomes, or a guitar solo becomes a part of that song, you're basically learning that exactly and playing it the same every night, you know? And so that's a different thing than sessions, because when you're on a record, obviously, you're pulling stuff out of thin air to put in this song. You're coming up with that, you know? And the only concern is being hooky when you need to be and out of the way when you need to be. And you can sort of deconstruct these parts. Like you might put 5 parts on the song. Well, you're not doing that all at once. Live, unfortunately, you got to pick, like, I obviously can't do all this stuff that's on the record if I'm the only guitar player, but you pick the 3 things that are the most important for the artist to hear and the crowd, and you put that all in one thing.
Yeah.
One performance. Whereas that doesn't sound like a record if you approach it that way in the studio. It sounds like a guy stepping on and turning off pedals, and you know, it doesn't sound as expensive as it needs to sound. You know, you do one part at a time, so you can kind of really craft it. You know. Well,
diving into that sort of crafting, I am super curious to dive into to our topic here, which is, what would you consider to be the main tones that any guitar player really needs to kind of nail on the pedalboard, and how do you go about crafting those on a case-by-case basis?
Well, I mean, you have to sneak up on this stuff, I think. So I mean, the first thing is the musicality of the part dictates the sound in a lot of ways. Like if you're called, you know, most guitar players are in the position of coming up with the sig lick at the beginning of the song if there's a big intro or something, you know, the thing that's identifiable right out of the gate. Yeah. So if that's a real busy thing, you probably don't want to use a bunch of effects.
Yeah.
If it's an ethereal thing with a bunch of long notes and it needs to set more of a low key mood or have something, then you probably need to use delays and verbs and maybe some modulation, and maybe have a guitar that like a Strat or something, or something with a Bigsby, so you can kind of float some notes around and make them sound cool or whatever. But starting with a really good clean sound at the beginning of the session when you're getting your sounds.
Sure.
No effects, like get your sound with no effects, like at first.
Yeah.
When the engineer at the very top of the session, because if you've got that ground zero right, then everything else should be a lot easier. But if that's not happening from the start, you're kind of swimming upstream the whole time.
So walk me through how you do that.
Okay. Well, so like here, like you kind of want to go through your pickups too, because what sounds good on the bridge pickup could sound, this sounds really good because we kind of dialed it.
Yeah.
But you can hear all that.
Yeah.
And none of it's suffering. Like the low end isn't pushing too hard. Yeah. So you get a good.
And what do we got dialed in? So you're going through a deluxe here.
Yes.
Are you going like flat all the way through, or what's your EQ on the amp itself to get this sound?
Okay. Well, normally I would be turned up more, but we can't here. So this amp volume-wise is on 2.5.
Mm-hmm. What do you like to put it at?
I start at 4, which is the edge of breakup, and I'll get into like how I deal with that to get a good clean sound.
Yeah.
So on when you're down this far on a deluxe reverb, it's bright. So I've got the treble on 3.
You've rolled off the treble.
Right, and on the bridge pickup, I've even rolled that down to about 6 or so.
Yeah, take some of the brightness off.
Yeah, and you especially need that with something like a Strat or a Tele.
Yeah.
And then bass is on 3. Deluxe reverbs kind of work weird. A lot of people out there probably already know this stuff, but Deluxe has that bright cap that is supposed to disengage somewhere around 3 or 4 on the volume knob, but when it's down lower, that's why it's so bright. My Deluxe reverbs, I change the value of that cap. I don't take it out because then I find it to be too dull. But if you choose a cap that's like half the value or something, you can use more of the volume knob. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I do, why a volume pedal is so important and is different than the volume on your guitar. Like the volume on your guitar starts like P90s are great at cleaning up. So but if you're on a humbucker guitar, if you ever notice when you start turning down, it gets a little muddier. So I like having a volume pedal because if I want the sound of the guitar on 10, but it's still hitting the amp too hard, I just back off the volume pedal a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's supposed to keep your tone of what you're sending more intact. Does that make sense?
So your tone starts to change if you're using the volume.
Yeah, and that can be useful too. Every little thing that you can do is useful.
Yeah.
But if you really like what's happening here, but the engineer or somebody in there goes, hey, it's breaking up a little bit too much. Can you still get that cool sound but cleaner? And then I would do it with the volume pedal instead of my guitar.
What happens when you turn it down on the guitar? Like, in what way does the tone change?
Well, I'm not using a great guitar for this example. But yeah, on a humbucker, a lot of times the neck pickup, if you're on a really cool neck pickup sound and you start turning it down, sometimes it gets like darker and muddy sounding.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah. So, but obviously, it's one of the things I love about P90s. It's they clean up great, and the interaction on, if they're 50s wired, stuff you can do with the tone knob is way more expressive.
Yeah. And are you EQing it also? You've got your you got your volume on your guitar, you got the volume pedal that you're rocking. Are you EQing anything in your clean signal? Or
Nothing is on right now. Nothing. I do have an EQ pedal, and we can talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, everything is just straight up.
Yeah.
Straight. So if you get that going, good.
Yeah.
If that sounds good to you in your headphones, the other pro tip about if you're going to do sessions, buy your own find a set of headphones that you like and take those with you. That's almost like, I like the GK as Ultra phones.
Okay.
They're called, they look like you're at a, directing air track. Yeah, on an airfield. Yeah. But I'm not saying they're like, I've gotten I have them because they isolate really well, and sometimes I have to be like 2 feet away from the drums, and I can listen at low volumes and not be, hearing a bunch of leakage. They sound a certain way. I'm not saying that they sound perfect, but you get used to what sound. If you spend a lot of time going into the control room and listening to your sound and coming back, you kind of learn what your headphones hype.
You see how it translates.
But on days where I forget to bring those, which is never anymore, because I have 4 pairs of them in all places, so I'm never without them, because it's the most important piece of gear that I have now, because I have to, that has to be consistent everywhere, because then I know, okay, if things are sounding a little dark to me today in a weird way, I know something's not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of what I'm always trying to get to is where I barely have to turn myself up in the headphones to hear myself, because when you have to turn that up and a way above everybody else, your tone's not fitting in great. That's what that's telling you, or should be telling you. Too much low end, probably.
Okay. And then so we've got a nice clean tone.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? What's the bread and butter? What's the
next
first tone?
I mean, you're gonna play mostly rhythm guitar on someone's record, or any session you do, probably. So, okay, now this is something you'll notice and people probably look at our pedal boards, session players' pedal boards. We usually have a lot of different options in gain world. Now, this is my smaller pedal board. This is something that I can just carry around town, with a lot of options in a small space. But my bigger board has several overdrives and stuff like that. So this is the Analog Man King of Tone, which has been a great pedal for me. I have one on every board that I have.
Pedal. A lot of folks around town use this pedal.
I mean, it's great for being transparent on the yellow side, but giving it a little like back to where without it.
You said the yellow side?
The yellow side.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that's the more clean boost side. It's the left side. Yep. And all my King of Tones are straight up King of Tones the way they come from him. I have one that's a high gain red side, but my favorites are just the way he makes it, So you hear how that, hopefully this is all translating. There's just a little bit more mid-range quality, and it pushes the amp. And you can the nice thing about this pedal is that, like, if you trim the gain back a good ways, it just kind of, I mean, that sounds like there's nothing on. Yeah. But when you turn it off, it's just a little thinner. So this just kind of beefs it up a little bit if you need that. Yeah. Now, when you go to a neck pickup and you have just a little bit of that, putting the gain back to closer to where I had it a second ago, all of a sudden it can take a rhythm part. Kind of get into it's hard to blow the amp out with with it on this low volume, but you know, basically, I just want. I mean, that's a pretty good rhythm sound where you can still hear all the notes of the chord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a pedal. Basically, what you're doing by having a lot of choices is cycling through different things, because every pedal has its different tonal standpoint or stamp. I mean, like, a lot of people ridicule tube screamers. I love tube screamers. They work so often.
Yeah.
That's why they're so popular. The mid hump sounds bad when you're playing it by itself and you lose the low end, trim some low end, but you'd be amazed how many times that is the perfect thing inside of a track with 5 other musicians. I mean, every pedal is good for something. So, but one of my favorites, and has been for a really long time, kind of when I discovered this pedal when I was playing in Delbert's band through Leroy Parnell, is the Ibanez Distortion pedal. That's kind of like a, you know.
Is it actually from the 80s, or just look?
That's from the 80s. Yeah. I when I first found out about these, you could buy these all day long. Like back when there was eBay was new. Yeah. I mean, I would just go on there, and any of them with a buy it now of $80, I'd just buy them.
Yeah. I
didn't care what condition they were in or anything, because they're fragile pedals. So you kind of, I've had a couple of them get wonky on me. But now these things are worth a lot of money, and thank God, you know, I kind of like discovered it when they were cheap, and I don't know, I don't even know how, I find them all the time. I'm like going through looking for other pedals, and there's another Distortion. I just got a pile of them, you know.
Side career for you.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah, hope they stay popular. But see how that's kind of like, by ourselves, that's not maybe like a great, like, but the bite helps. It helps. Yeah, and then you've got the 3-band EQ. So if you're missing something, if you want,
thin it out on the pedal.
Yeah, I mean, I keep everything most of the time at noon on the EQ. I barely ever have to use the EQ in a track. But I just pulled up some low end. The EQ is very helpful on these things. It works. I mean, you know, if you want to, I don't love the high gain sounds, but this is kind of. I mean, it's not bad. That would work, you know, for something. But you know, that's another good option. I don't have it plugged in, but we'll get into it in a second probably. I love Rat pedals. They you know, most people know what they sound like, but like whenever I'm trying to use a fuzz sound, and I can't get that to cut in the track, because that happens a lot with all the low end, you can't ever get away from on a fuzz.
Yep.
The Rat kind of can sound like a fuzz pedal, but you can get it, that filter knob, you just kind of move that around until all of a sudden you can hear it.
Yeah.
So important. And it's a great low gain pedal, you know, but like, you know, and then if I need something heavier and more compressed sounding, I think that the Analog Man King of Tone on the red side, which is more of an overdrive side sound, it's you know, it's got a little bit of compression to it. That's just a little bit of gain, but if you get these things all the way up and back the volume off, it'll rock out pretty good. You know,
that's nice.
Yeah. Now, you know, that all that said, you have these different gain stages you can mess with. But before I ever do any of that, if somebody wants it, I turn my amp up a lot. and try to get it out of the amp. And now, I've usually got, a Marshall around, Bassmans or whatever. And the deluxe that I use on my sessions, the first channel's modded with just a little bit extra gain. And for a rhythm sound, I tend to prefer that. At the end of the day, there's just no unwanted fizzy stuff that sometimes pedals will just inherently have.
Yep. In what context would you use a Marshall versus a Fender? Like, why aim for that sound?
Well, I mean, Marshalls are very dynamic and bright. I mean, when I use them. So sometimes 80% of the time I'm playing through a Bassman or a Deluxe. That's just a great, you can get a lot out of that with EQing the knobs on the amp and just turning it up more or less. Onboard reverb is so great to have on a Deluxe or something like that. But when you want something that's like tight in the low end and sounds exciting in sort of a more rock aggressive way, Marshall's kind of unbeatable. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, you can get that out of like a Bassman on 7, like a Presence Knob Bassman on 7 with dumping the low end down pretty low and doing all that. You can get sort of that sound too, but the Marshall just does it. Like, I mean,
It's just the sound.
we know that sound. You plug any kind of guitar, but especially a humbucker guitar into a Marshall, you're gonna get that sound we all know. And that's, most people in commercial music aren't looking for that. You got to be able to get the basic food groups, and Marshall's a basic food group.
Yeah. Is there a reason why? Have you ever experimented with more like boutique amps and some of these alternative brands?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you sort of stick to that Fender Marshall stack, so to speak.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily what's really I grew up playing vintage guitars and amps. Now, I hear guys all the time playing newer amps that sound incredible. I just, the way I play guitar and my touch and all that, it's a Deluxe reverb, a black panel Fender of some kind is home base. It's where I learned everything.
Yeah.
So, and it's such a classic sound. It's never been improved on. Now there are great guys like Haim. I have a few Jeff Haim amps that are like his Deluxe reverb, his Princeton reverb, this new thing he has, the Refugee, which is basically 2 different Fender amps from the mid 60s and 1 amp. He does a great job of capturing what those amps do. But so many boutique builders, when they make something like that, oftentimes they mod it in some way that's like, or they add features to it that probably appeal to a lot of live players. But in the studio, I don't know. There's the real thing is the real thing, and everything else is everything else. That doesn't mean it's better or that these other things aren't as good. It's I just know these things. When it doesn't sound like that, it's like I can get these things to sound modern, but I can't get newer things to sound old oftentimes.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got various levels of gain staging.
Yeah.
We learned some stuff about your amp. What's next? Where do we go from here in terms of tones?
All right. Well, let's say more maybe back to like simple, clean rhythm sounds, like for like a good R&B tone. I mean. a lot of times on a telly, you'd be in the middle position or the neck position. You know.
If you're on an R&B gig, do you reach for the telly first? Is that kind of a go-to?
Yeah. I mean, I think you can do a lot with a telly. I mean, you know, and I don't find this to be that much different. It's a fatter sounding version of that, or this can actually obviously rock more than a telly right out of the box. But tellies can do everything unless you want something with a big speed or a Strat, you know, tremolo. So, you know, sometimes you want this sound with a little bit of reverb if you're going to put parts in there like, you know, it's still... You know, if you want to... It's nice to have a little bit of reverb. That also sounds really good on a neck pickup. You know,
in what context would you use the middle as opposed to the neck?
It comes back to that thing. If sometimes the neck pickup is just too fat in the track, and so you can go to the middle and it kind of thins out a little bit. And obviously on a Gibson you can tailor it even further because you have independent volume control. So if you're in the middle and it's still too warm, you just back the neck pickup off and don't look at it, like listen to it. You know, that's another thing. Like sometimes adjusting your knobs without looking at it gets you there quicker because you know, that kind of thinned up. It doesn't actually sound that different than being on the bridge, but when you go there, there's just a little bit more warmth in the bridge, and you know, maybe it just sits in better. And the other way, if you're in the middle too bright, you can kind of back off the...
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a lot of that is just, you know...
So the R&B tone is kind of clean, a little rolled off the top maybe.
Yeah.
And some verb. And you prefer to get your verb out of the amp over a pedal?
9 times out of 10 if I have that. But you know, I mean, this is just a Line 6 M9, but it actually does a pretty good spring reverb, but this is the difference, you know. I mean, nobody's going to say, I don't like that because I think he was not using the real amp reverb.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to microscope it and solo it up, you're going to be able to tell maybe that that's not the same thing, but come on.
Yeah. What makes you like the M9?
Well, okay. These have been around forever. I don't even think they make them anymore. And I have the HFX effects version, newer version on a bigger pedal board. This is just here because I've used it forever. I know how to get. It has a ton of sounds in it in a small space. I mean, the reason it works on this pedal board is mostly about the size of it and the sound. I mean, obviously, I don't use stuff that I think sounds bad just so I can carry it around. It does sound good.
Yeah.
It still sounds good. You know, and I can get to a lot of sounds without digging in my bag back here, which has a lot of stuff that I'll use over this. If I've got time to grab the chorus pedal I like better out of here, I do. But you know, sometimes we're just moving too fast, and this board is there usually on demo sessions where you're cranking through these things. You don't have time to, oh, hang on, let me find my favorite phase pedal from, you know, just use a phaser in here for that one little part. It's not gonna, if this song falls apart because you don't have the right phaser tone, then there's something else wrong.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, makes sense.
You know?
Okay. All right, cool. So we've got that R&B sound, a little reverb, usually through the amp, but sometimes through the effects processor. What's next?
Okay, well, let's talk about like delays. I mean, okay, so Slapback is something I've been into for a really long time just because of my love for old Elvis recordings with Scotty Moore. I mean, you know, hopefully we all know that sound, that old rockabilly kind of,
And the way
that's,
we're dialing that in is it's basically a very short delay.
yes.
Can you walk us through how to get that sound?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of modern pedals have the tap tempo feature.
Yeah.
So on most slapback settings, it's a 16th note of the tempo. Like if you're doing classic rockabilly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another great use of slapback was the intro to the Stones song "Brown Sugar." That has an even tighter slapback, which I think. Let's get this. That's harder to dial in, but you can hear that. It's so subtle.
Yeah.
But if you really go back and listen to that recording, and kind of like a lot of my favorite Keith things from that era, there is just a subtle, I don't know what they used to get that. I don't think it was an Echoplex or anything like that. I don't know what they used, but it's just something that gives you a little bit more personality to the part. Yeah. There's just something else going on than just a straight up guitar. And obviously, when you hit these things just a little harder with a pedal, you start to hear it a little bit more because it excites the sound. Let's dial that back.
I hear a little bit of that compression. Is that coming up from the analog man, or is that?
Yeah. So that's the Analog Man on the red side. That's probably a little bit. You can hear it.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Slap it a little bit.
So that's slapback. You want it. If you're playing, you just adjust the level to taste. I don't like to use it a lot of times. It can muddy up things a little bit, And a lot of times when I'm playing through a track and I've got something like that on, I'll experiment on the first take with is it better with it off? And maybe on the second verse, I'll just turn it off and just play the part dry. And is that better? And sometimes it is, and then sometimes you just miss the slapback and halfway through the verse you turn it back on, and if it's that's more fun. That's just more fun.
And what genres are we talking here? Is this across the board?
Across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, slapback, so often in our environments in the studio nowadays, the guitar cabinet is in a small space, and all my favorite records, there are room mics involved with a lot of my favorite guitar sounds. I didn't know this until I got in the studio and started going, why does everything sound so sterile? Because there's a mic right up on the grill cloth. Like the old school way of miking things wasn't necessarily right on the grill cloth. If it was, they also had a mic, several feet back. I mean, it's the whole Blues Breakers thing. Once you heard the room sound on a guitar amp, and that was the main ingredient, it elevated how the guitar sounded on recordings to me. And then you start to realize, well, it's that way on, like Scotty Moore. They weren't sticking a mic right on his amp. There was a mic in the room, and it's like, hey, let's move your amp further away or tilt it a little away or whatever. Creating this balance, much in the way that when you see bluegrass bands play, they're working that microphone.
Yeah.
Well, that's how recording started. We didn't have all these tracks, and now we do, and things are very close mic'd and often never room mic'd. So I guess when I started doing sessions, I was just longing for something that wasn't so direct and immediate in your ear, you know, in the headphones. And so I started using Slapback on things, and you know,
So it sort of emulates that sound.
well, yeah, it's a different way of just creating a little air around the sound where there's space for it in the recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. So, but you know, if you need to get like more ethereal, you know, you can obviously point to certain people like David Gilmour or The Edge, or you know.
So what did you just do there?
I just turned on.
You increased.
I changed the delay time. I took off this Strymon Volante pedal is very nice because you can very quickly get to different divisions. These are different like heads, yeah, like if you were on an old Benson Echo Rec kind of, or a Space Echo. So when I'm on number 1 is the 16th note division of what you tap, or 2 is 8th note, 3 is dotted 8th note, and 4 is quarter note. So, and you can pick like with the repeat knob, you can pick like these bottom row of knobs. It has to do with whether you want all the repeats or just one repeat. If you turn off all these, you get one repeat. But this engages, this loops in the repeat knob. So like, in the fact that I don't have the dotted 8 number 3 down up at the top, that just means I get the repeat of that subdivision as opposed to the direct sound of it. The first repeat is, I don't know how to describe it. It's it just ducks that division further back into the background.
Yeah.
So
a bit of more of a cascade as opposed to just like.
Yeah. So let's just say you're kind of a little bit in the ethereal side of things. This has a really nice spring reverb that you can also dial in. I usually dial that in.
Is it modding a little bit too?
Yeah. The mechanics knob on here brings in a little modulation. And you know, I mean, when you're doing something like,
that's great.
So
and it sounds like you're going right into from volume into this, not out of this into volume.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I was just going to mention that. I think that's the best way to do this, because the real trick. I went and saw Alan Holdsworth in a club back in the late 80s, and I'd never seen somebody do this paddy kind of thing. I'd heard it on records, but I always thought it was keyboard, because that's what it's kind of sounding like. And he was up there like playing all these chords, you know, and like, you know, and the next one would kind of come in, and I was like, how is he doing that? Like, and the secret is have your delay after your volume pedal, because when you basically you hit the strings before you bring it in, so you don't hear the attack, and then you want enough repeats to where that bleeds over and sounds like you're not bringing down the volume pedal to bring in the next chord. I hope I'm explaining this well. It's like, that's the trick, is, you know. So, I mean, there's just, you know, just being able to, that's a good ethereal trick. You know, like a verse part where it's like mostly acoustic and vocal at this point, that not a lot of the band's playing, but they're like, we need something else in there that's just kind of spooky or whatever, you know, this is kind of one great way to do that.
That's the way to do it.
That's great. And, you know, obviously, I mean, the trick with delay is using it. The mix is very important. if you want longer trails, but it's starting to get a little bit too much, just turn the mix down and the repeats up a little bit, because with the mix down,
Where's the mix at on this?
like a echo level would be there. So like if I don't want to hear a bunch of delay, like let's say it's got to be something that you wouldn't necessarily use a lot of the volume swell thing, like you're not hearing you know, all the echo subdivisions.
So it's just like a very wet for
Yeah.
filling the space. Right.
It's all blended to taste.
Wash.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's different than reverb. Like if you want to do that with reverb, also very effective, but you know, it's a different texture. Obviously, you know. Let's turn that up and get this decay up a lot. Kind of creates the same thing, but it is a difference.
Yeah.
The other one is more, yeah. The verb kind of blooms and all of that, and could potentially create problems while you're playing.
Yeah.
Because everything is just blooming.
Yeah.
Whereas the delay feels a little bit more controlled and out of the way if you need it to be.
Right.
That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so, okay, now let's talk about sort of like cowboy guitar parts, like low string things that could either be on a baritone or a guitar.
Do you want to do this on a tele?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Cool.
So obviously I have a telly now, and you know, tellies are pretty important in Nashville. I was thinking about sort of cowboy parts on low strings with a little bit of tremolo. I like it when in every Fender amp that has reverb and tremolo, the tremolo is after the reverb, which makes the reverb also tremolo. Yep. So you hear more of the tremolo. When it's the other way around, it just makes the tremolo more subtle, because the reverb is filling in some gaps of the volume drops.
Makes total sense.
So
you rig it up that way.
So, you know, if I've got a pedal where I'm doing it, I always configure it where the tremolo is after the reverb, like it would be in the amp. So if you're you know, you're messing with some kind of like ballad part where it would be good to have some cowboy guitar. A little bit of reverb and tremolo, and I'll use a clean boost. I love the original RC booster made by Exotic. Like, you can already hear how that kind of
upper presence.
I mean,
so why use the clean boost and not just turn up the guitar or?
you know, I would experiment with turning up the guitar too, but in places where you can't, that pedal does. I've always felt like that pedal kind of does. It does what I like about a compressor, but it doesn't do any of the things that can be that I don't like about compressors. So, you know, it just kind of it's kind of like fattens things up a little bit without destroying what you've got going on and what you're already doing. So, you know, I mean, you know, we've heard that sound a million times. That's just a really effective thing when somebody says, we need cowboy guitar on this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And a lot of times you would maybe grab a baritone if it's in a good key for a baritone. That's the other thing about baritone guitars. Everybody imagines, oh, this would be great with baritone, but the key is completely wrong, and you're capoing, and then you're just up in the guitar range, and you're not getting what you want out of the baritone. Right. So I just play it on a telly or a Gretsch or something that has that sound of the low string lonely man walking across the desert or the prairie. You know, there's that.
So that's just tram reverb with a little cleat boost.
Yes.
Be there.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, while we've got the telly, I mean, obviously getting a good telly sound. Let's see. Where's that? Oh, okay. I see. So. That's a good clean telly sound. Okay, now a lot of people use compressors with tellies. I'm not against that. I like that. Let's take the echo off. Fine.
I was gonna ask, when you're playing country stuff, are you leaving a little bit of echo or delay on it?
Depending on the part. Yeah, I like slapback on something like this because it just kind of
gives it some vibe.
yeah. So that's your pretty clean, you know, sound. I mean, more modern sounds, you would probably have a little dirt on there too. You know, I mean, it just, you know, it just gives you a, you know, it just gives them more attitude.
Is there a reason you reach for that instead for extra grit instead of the analog man?
No, I just no. I saw. You know, if I were on a session, I would turn that on. Try. Does it sound good there, or does this? They're very different. Yeah. And I mean, you know, the drum sound dictates everything on a record. I mean, how you've got to fit in with cymbals. Is he playing just a bunch of tight hi-hats? Or are there going to be a lot of cymbal crashes? I mean, you know, what that does to your guitar sound, because the bass is going to be more aggressive or less aggressive. You know, I mean, you've got to find a way to sonically fit into that.
So let's say there is a bunch of high end. They're playing crashes and all sorts of stuff. Are you going for this? What's it called?
The Distortion.
Yeah, are you going for the Distortion? Are you going for the analog man? Like, how are you thinking about that in terms of like high end balance?
Okay. Well, I mean, a lot of it is by ear at the time. But yeah, I mean, I would probably start with the Distortion just because it has a little bit of that sizzle up in that can kind of sit nicely and cut through some of those things.
Right.
But if there's not a lot of stuff on the track and you can have a fatter, warmer sound that still is effective, you know, yeah, I'll the Analog Man King of Tone is just can get more organic sounding, I guess. The mid range is warmer.
Yep.
Something like that. But it's all in the instance, you know, by ear. If anybody asks me what pedals I use on a track, that's the thing I remember the least.
Yeah.
Because it's whatever sound I get. I know where everything is. I almost don't even look down. I just start cycling and listening, and then where I end up is where I end up, and that's that.
Yeah.
You know, and if they're happy in there and it sounds good to me, game over. I don't know necessarily what I was using.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool. So a bit of, on this country sound, you'll tend to compress it, maybe throw a little bit of grit on there, and a little bit of slapback. Anything else in that country sound?
I have a love-hate relationship with compressor pedals. They're great when they're great, but I, you know, if I start laying into something, anytime I'm trying to play more dynamically, I feel like the compressor pedal is anti that because it's bringing up your low levels and squashing your high levels. So, I mean, that balance is just tricky, and it's player dependent, it's part dependent. And sometimes, you know, they're putting compression on you in there in the control room from the engineer side. And if I hear that going on, I reach for this a lot less because they're already kind of doing that. And I mean, your tube amp is compressing. I mean, there's just compression going on.
Yeah.
And that is a necessary ingredient, but compressor pedals do either the right thing or the absolute wrong thing, you know? I mean, they're great for like smoothing out a distorted sound. Like if something is a little too ragged, like your Rat pedal or something, like that's different than. There's a little bit of life in there that kind of you can, you know, it just
more of the overtone.
Right. It's cool, you know. But you know, a lot of chicken picking things are done with a compressor pedal on. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just kind of, you know, that just sounds good with a compressor pedal on it.
Right.
I like compression for this use, okay? Like overusing it, like bringing the level way down and the compression way up. Like if I have this works great with a Strat, like in a clean sound with a little bit of vibrato or something like.
Oh, wow.
You can, I mean, I'm hitting the guitar kind of hard. You can tell in the room, but that compressor is really kicking in and keeping that controlled, like a really good clean sound on a track, like in a chorus, like yeah. I mean, we know that sound. That's kind of 80s pop, you know, sound. And with the Strat, it's really special. You know, and then, you know, now that we're got the vibrato pedal on, modulation is a really cool, useful tool.
Yeah, talk to Ty about how do you use that?
I use the vibrato pedal, the Boss vibrato pedal. It's the Waza version. I have old versions. I think this nails the sound, you know. But I mean, you get a little bit of back to more ethereal world. If you get a little bit of echo going. That's just a lot more interesting than. That's good. That's probably fine. But oh my God, you're gonna get called back when you turn that on. I mean, you know. I mean, there's just. Yeah, you can get. That's a cool sound.
It's very cool.
You know, getting the rate up and the
and you're running this after everything, basically.
Actually, today it would be further into the chain, but with this pedal board, it's in the front.
Okay. Before
but
the volume.
I would put that closer. You know, right before modulations. You know, but like. You remember the old Magnatone amps with the vibrato? That's kind of like why I like this pedal too. That I always like that sort of psychedelic kind of the pills are kicking in sound, you know. Lonnie Mack.
Yep.
I mean, for those of you that like Lonnie Mack, if you don't know who Lonnie Mack is, go find him. It's cool. It's great guitar work. Then, I don't know, let's talk about Distortion versus Fuzz.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a Fuzz pedal. I have a million Fuzz pedals. I love them all. They all do something very cool. These are personality boxes. Now, I use this Basic Audio Scarab pedal a lot because it can tone shape a lot. Whereas if you got a fuzz face, it's that sound or it's on or off. Yeah. You got a volume and a fuzz, and they kind of sound best cranked.
What do you mean by personality box?
Well, fuzz is an effect that really takes over. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and you're eating something and all you can taste is that chef's favorite ingredient? Takes over the dish and you're kind of like, I can't even, I mean, you know, it's kind of like A1 steak sauce. Once you put that on a steak, the steak is out of the equation.
Yeah, it's just A1.
It's A1 steak sauce.
Yeah.
Nothing against A1 steak sauce. I love it. I I don't eat it on my steaks anymore, but as a kid, I thought that was the greatest thing that ever went, you know, that and ice cream were the two greatest things I ever ate.
Yeah.
So, you know, but like Fuzz takes over, man. It's a big sound. I mean, Jimi Hendrix at Monterey and a trio, perfect.
Yeah.
And a big track with 8 other musicians, hard to make work. But when it works, it is the thing. Like I like it on single note things the best. Like, let's say I turn up a lot of really tight slapback. Like, let's hear this slap. Let's take the echo or the reverb portion off of this. That's pretty good. I mean, you know, even faster. So that's a really fast. So like if you're doing a solo, it's like. That brings more personality. That has a lot of personality to the sound, I think. Fuzzes do. And I have a million of them. I love them all. But a lot of low end. I'm on the bridge pickup on a Tele, and there's still some low end that can get lost in the track.
Wow.
So
that much came through.
Yeah.
So you often use it with that slapback to kind of give it that Hendrixy.
Yeah. When I want a little bit more like, what's missing here? What's something that could make that sound more bouncy or liven it up and bend your ear just a little bit more. Yeah. I love slapback for those type of things. Yeah. So now we're talking about distortion, a rat pedal. So it's not on. Let's see, so. Hear how that's not too dissimilar than the fuzz we just heard, but the low end is clipped a little bit. And that goes a long way in making something fit in the track. I mean, you know. There's just more presence there.
Yep.
It just clips in a different area of the spectrum. And, you know, I mean, that's a great distortion sound.
Killer, yeah.
They make we know there's a million pedals out there that do overdrive and distortion, but they're all kind of like versions of a tube screamer or a rat pedal, in my opinion. And there's great ones out there. I have them. I have mountains of them. But, you know, I mean, you know, today we've got the old classic, and it's just hanging in there, you know. And
so it seems like, could you get a sound like this out of the two gain pedals that you have on there, 2 distortion pedals that you have on your board already?
Like the overdrive pedals?
Yeah, overdrive pedals.
Let's see. I mean, if I were going to try, I would start with the higher gain sound on the Analog Man, the King of Tone. Let's see. That's close. Yeah. It doesn't have the same like sizzle in the right high mids. All right. But I mean, what if I start turning up the tone knob? Little closer, but that's all the gain that has. And obviously the rat pedal is capable of more. So let's see if we can get there. I mean, that's a little closer.
Yeah, getting there.
So what I would do in this instance, if I didn't have the rat pedal, but I was craving that sound on something, I'm playing with single coil pickups. Yeah. I would grab a Les Paul or humbucker because it's going to push the pedal more and make it break up more. Maybe you'll get there. I mean, that probably would work. Or P90s, just something hotter than a Fender.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I have to goose the signal a lot. Obviously, we don't have the amp breakup helping us too today, but that can also go a long way.
Interesting.
Turning your bass off on your amp also is a great tool.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something you would ever do if you were like playing in front of your amp. Yeah, just off.
For what purpose?
Well, like what we just heard with the rat pedal, that trims your bass.
Yeah.
Well, the overdrive doesn't trim your bass as much as the rat pedal does, I think. And so go to the amp and turn it off. I mean, you know, and goose the gain, and because the gain is going to bring a certain level of low end perception back.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, man, I have found out about these things my own way, and these probably will work for anybody if they experiment around, and maybe your ear hears it differently, but this is what happens to me when I'm in. These are the things that I do when I'm in the studio.
This is great. Are there any other essential tones that you're like, you got to have in your back pocket if you're a session player?
Yes. Well, we kind of covered a little bit of baritone world, but why don't we talk about 12-string guitars?
Great. Let's do that. What do we have here?
Okay, what we have here available at Carter Vintage is this 2019, the tag's torn. I can't tell what model it is, but it looks like the George Harrison kind of model. Well, no, it's got 3 pickup version. Okay, so this is just straight to the amp. Obviously, these pickups are not high output. They're the old toaster style pickups. Those are not hot. But I kind of enjoy a compressor a lot on a 12-string.
Why is that?
It makes it chime more. Yeah. And you can bring the level up where you need it. Like you get compression going, and then all of a sudden it takes, like, without it, it's like, that's fine. I mean, that's, you know, so a lot of people will plug in 12 strings and go, besides the tuning nightmares you can have with them, it's kind of like, why doesn't this sound like the Byrds or Tom Petty? And man, I just think compression goes a long way. I mean, you know, because you can get your amp really clean, but you can turn up the level a little bit, and it just kind of helps everything with a little bit of compression. It evens out the picking attack.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's all there. So, you know, 12 strings, it's not like you're going to use them every day, but they're so effective when they're needed, and it's a sound that's just classic, and a lot of people love it when it's the right thing.
Yeah.
So
Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
What else is in your back pocket as a session guitar player?
Okay, well, let's
And here.
Okay, so this is a 1965 Strat. This is a guitar that was my dad's as well. And this one I've had. This is the guitar I moved to town with. This is all I had. This and acoustic.
Wow.
So a lot of gigs. I found a picture of it a few years ago when I was 15, playing this guitar, and it was so new looking.
Yeah.
Like the red was still there. It's all faded.
It's all
like,
yeah.
If you look on the back, there's a lot more red.
Wow.
Wow. And that the front was like that too, but I guess playing a bunch of touring gigs out in the sun, it just goes away. Okay, so yeah, this is the guitar I probably have played longer than anything else. So let's talk about EQ. Like, you know, obviously Strats are less mids. You know, a lot of low end and a lot of high end. But you know, on any guitar, maybe you're very close to having the sound, and you know it's the right thing, but maybe some things are just cloudy sounding. So you can really shape with like a good EQ pedal, like you can just drop again that low end. And what, you know, it's probably subtle at this volume level. Just try and like, but start pulling some of these things out and slowly sliding them back in. Again, the more you do this without looking at it, you'll learn what actually works as opposed to eyeballing it. 400, I think, is a very important guitar mid frequency to have. It can take a solo, it can give you just a little bit more fatness. Ironically, somehow, I find that frequency actually can help your guitar be heard, even though it's a little bit lower frequency. Typically, cutting through with treble frequencies is what you think you always need to do. But like, this is a very effective effect. You know, I've talked about this before, but I can't say enough about, like, if you really want to take apart and give it like that far away sound.
So you're cutting off the highs and the lows.
Like, that's got that telephone thing going on, you know?
Yeah.
Add in a little slapback, you know? I mean, just an interesting sound. I mean, you can really tone shape a lot with that, just by getting drastic with it. And there are no rules, you know. It's kind of like whatever sounds cool for that moment. You know, this level thing is really good for like decreasing your volume and getting something like back to that more mid sound. It's kind of like, you know, that's kind of cool, like, or a pre-intro to a song before it's really going to kick in. That's kind of cool, but, you know, it's also an incredible gain boost. I mean, I don't want to kill our level here, but, like, this is... If your amp is up and you hit it hard with just flat or you know, that's a great overdrive pedal. You know, and you can start carving frequencies. You can actually get some pretty cool dirty sounds out of just that.
Super cool.
So that's that. Now let's just get into a couple of my favorite weirdo effects.
Kind of wild cards.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
you brought this bag.
I had
your main board. you got a bag of tricks.
I have the black bag. It has a million things in it.
Yeah.
You know, and a couple of things that I've been into lately. When somebody wants something completely, I don't know what that is. Is it a guitar? Is it a keyboard? I don't know. And it's like a sound that never heard. Like that company Chase Bliss makes incredible stuff. There's a million. I have a ton of these kinds of pedals at my house. Like when I'm overdubbing, when people send me tracks to overdub on, I wish I had a picture to show you. I mean, it's just, I'm surrounded by a mountain of weirdo pedals that I just pull and grab and put together and but so like this is a very odd sound. Let's this is the lossy pedal. So I mean, this does all kinds of things. I mean, it's just so weird. You can still tell that's a guitar, but you start dialing up this loss sound and put a couple of different reverbs on there. Listen to where that's already kind of taken off.
Oh, wow.
I mean, in some kind of weird track, that's gonna be.
So what was that? That was some verb, some delay.
Some verb delay. The verb had a pretty long trail on it. That probably helped. Didn't help. But like if I trim that back a little bit and play it.
And something's modding.
Well, that's all inside that pedal. There's a, speed and...
I see. That's cool.
I mean, that's just a weird sound. What is that? I don't know, and these Chase Bliss pedals are kind of wild. I haven't done the deep dive on that particular pedal, but I just kind of mess with stuff until it sounds like something that is fun.
Yep.
Cool. And then I like this, another one of these pedals that I like a lot is the Generation Loss Chase Bliss pedal. It's I'll show you this here. Is that right? Yeah. This is kind of emulating different sort of VHS tape models and so it just kind of trashes up your signal and does this let's see.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
That's a cool effect, if you set that first side with this dip switch all the way over to stop.
Yeah.
So but it holds down there, so so if you like the beginning of a song, let's say you're gonna and I mean, there again, you start adding things like Slapback to it. I don't know. I just like getting into some of those things, and those are just a couple examples. I mean, got this one more pedal I'll show you, kind of a cool the way to use this envelope filter. I like the original MXR, the one Jerry Garcia used. It's the MXR, from the 70s, just a 2-knob deal. But Analog Man makes this version of that with a few more controls. So, okay, so we know that sound. So if you set this, we know the funky version of that. But if you dial in some delay, and you got some clean stuff going, a little bit of verb, it just kind of you don't necessarily think, oh, that's an envelope filter sound, but that's
it's got this underwater quality to it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a million things you can do with different pedals. That's just a few little tricks that.
This is fantastic. I feel like we really, cover a lot of ground here, and I certainly have a clear foundation in terms of what are the main palette sounds.
Yeah, good.
Work. So
good.
I appreciate you giving us the walkthrough on this stuff. I'm curious, in terms of your creative projects and the work that you're doing right now, what's the latest for you? Where can people check out stuff that you're working on?
Oh, well, I'm starting to put out music all the time. I've got a backlog of songs that I've written and recorded, and they're starting to show up. I've been putting singles out on Spotify, all the streaming platforms. You can just look up my name and you'll find it there. Some of them are even on my YouTube channel, which I wish I had time to be more active on. I just don't with my work schedule. It's just easier for me to drop a single than to make a video.
100%.
You know what video editing takes
gosh,
and all
yeah.
this
Do I
stuff.
ever? Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, obviously I would hire somebody to do that part, but still, just even getting that to happen, it's just that it doesn't work out as much as possible, as I wish.
Yeah.
But yeah, just find me on the streaming services. I probably will have a single out about the time this is going on. You know, it's a cool mix of stuff. It's that I haven't put out any instrumental music yet. It's all stuff that I sing, but there is also instrumental music that's coming. I don't know. The nice thing about me not having a record label or having to do that is that I can put out whatever I want. So that's what happens. I just write it, and if it's cool, I record it. And I play live with my band around town. We never rehearse. I basically write songs and book them for a session, and and now we know that song and we can play it live.
Wow.
It's kind of it, you know. But those are the outside of mainstream career moves that I make these days. You know?
And what artists are you working with right now in terms of doing tracking work?
Well, we just started to work on a new Luke Combs record. He's, you know, they're saying they want to cut a lot of songs, so I don't know when that'll be out, but we're doing that. There's a new Carter Faith record that just came out. She's a new artist. You all should know about her. She's amazing. That's pretty creative. Oh man, I mean, there's stuff coming out all the time that I'm you know, only aware of when they tag me in it. But if you follow me on Instagram, every time something comes out that they tag me on that I played on 6 months ago or whenever, that stuff comes out. I mean, there's all kinds of new artists. Lauren Watkins. Oh man, some of the new Cole Swindell stuff. Been working with this producer Will Bundy. He's cool. You know, Jay Joyce stuff. Dann Huff. You know, some of those producers tend to hire me a fair enough amount that whatever they're working on is what's, you know, I you know, put up there on the socials and all that.
That's great. Cool. Well, I'll make sure everyone gets out there and follows you on all the stuff. And thank you so much for spending the time and walking us through this whole setup. This was very enlightening.
Well, thank you, Spencer. It's been very fun.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Anytime.